Never buy these types of homes in South Carolina. Are you thinking about moving to South Carolina and buying a home here? Maybe you heard it's affordable and the people are nice and it's a great place to raise a family or to retire. But you feel overwhelmed, you're a little anxious, and you're not really sure where to start in your home search. Well, in this video, you're gonna learn which types of houses to avoid buying in South Carolina. You'll want to get this right so you don't make costly mistakes in your home purchase and regret making the move here. At the end of the video, I'm going to share with you one tip that will massively help you in your home search, and you'll be one step closer to finding the perfect home in South Carolina. Now, the first type of house you should never buy in South Carolina is a home that's over a century old. Here in Charleston, South Carolina specifically, there are some very old historic homes, and some of them are even a couple hundred years old. They're beautiful, they're charming, but you don't want to live in one. I would not recommend buying a home in the 1920s or earlier. Even the 1940s, I would be a little wary of that. There are just so many things that would have to be updated to make it livable. The electrical wiring throughout the house is likely not up to date, and there's also a limit to how long the insulation around the wires lasts. So it's likely that you would need to replace the wiring, and that could cost hundreds or thousands of dollars. Plumbing is another major system that would likely need updating in a centuries-old home. For example, a lot of homes were built with lead piping and other piping materials that are prone to burst easily. That's why I recommend buying a home with updated building standards. Older homes also tend to have steeper staircases, and that's not really great if you're looking to retire here or if you have older parents that will be living with you. With older homes, there's also a chance of asbestos being present in the home. They used to use asbestos insulation around water heaters or pipes, and it was also used in flooring tiles. And that's pretty costly to remediate because it takes a lot of equipment and it takes specialized experts to remove all of that. Those are the major issues that come with older homes, but there are a lot of smaller issues as well. Older homes tend to have lower ceilings, an absence of natural light, and sometimes funky floor plans. And all of those could impact your resale value when you go to sell your home. And before I get into the next point, if you're thinking about moving to Charleston, South Carolina, feel free to reach out. I'm a Charleston native, so I know the area like the back of my hand, and I've helped people just like you get through the overwhelming process of buying a house in another state, and I've helped them relocate here. If you're buying anywhere else in South Carolina, I can connect you with one of my top producing realtor partners. So give me a call, send me a text. My information is in the description below, and I'd love to chat with you about your move. Now, let's get into the next type of house that I would never buy, and that is a house that smells like mold. Here in South Carolina, especially in the Charleston area, we have a warm, humid climate. Because of Charleston's subtropical location next to the Atlantic coast, humidity is relatively high, with averages ranging from 50% to 65% throughout the year. One of the things that comes with that humidity is the increased risk of mold growth in your home. So if you walk into a home and it smells musty or it smells like mold, I would not recommend buying that, even if you plan on doing mold remediation. The mold could be in the vents, it could be in the sheetrock, and it's costly to get rid of. And of course, that could lead to health issues down the line. So when you're walking through the home, I recommend paying attention to the ceilings, pay attention to the vents, and keep an eye out for mold spots. And keep your nose open too. One way to better avoid this is to buy a newer home or to find one that was completely gutted and renovated. The third type of house that I would never buy is one with eccentric features. Now, this is tempting because some of those eccentric features actually make the home look more charming, right? But they have a negative impact on resale value. I've seen homes with ornate fireplaces, indoor pools with complex tile work, or even diner-style booths inside the kitchen. If you're considering a home with a pool that was filled in, you'll either have to decide to keep that pool as it is or pay thousands of dollars to get that pool working again. Otherwise, it will stay a dirt pit. Another common eccentric feature I see all the time is the super fancy, over-the-top custom kitchen. Some of these custom kitchens cost tens of thousands of dollars to install, and they can come in different interesting design selections or interesting colors. And these custom kitchens might look appealing now, but when the trend dies off, that's going to cost big money to renovate. Now, the next type of house I would never buy is a shoddy flip, as in it was renovated in a shoddy way. This is quite common in hot sellers markets, which we're in right now, and we've been in for the last few years. And let's be clear, I'm not saying that every renovated home is going to be a crappy flip. But a lot of flippers are buying up these homes and getting greedy, and they're cutting corners. Some of them, not all of them, some of them hire cheap subcontractors that don't do quality work, so things get missed. Now, if you do find yourself walking through a beautifully renovated home, pay attention to the quality of the paintwork. Look under the kitchen sink and check for signs of leaks. Test out the shower knobs and make sure they're working. I've seen some homes where the subcontractors completely forgot to connect the shower knobs to the water. The quality of the cosmetic work that you can see is going to be a reflection of what's on the inside that you can't see. If you do happen to fall in love with a renovated home, not all is lost. Just make sure to have thorough inspections done and watch out for those red flags that I mentioned. Now, another home I would never buy in South Carolina is one that has serious foundation issues. And you'll know if a home has serious foundation issues if you see long cracks along the home's siding, if you see a saggy chimney, or the home is tilted when you're walking through it. That's a big glaring sign that there are foundation issues. This is also more common in homes that have a crawl space foundation rather than a concrete slab foundation. And if you're not sure whether the home you're looking at has foundation issues, make sure to bring an experienced realtor or contractor with you to take a look at the home, because not every crack on the side of the house means major foundation issues. Some of these cracks just come along as a result of settling over time. One tip to better avoid these foundation issues is to purchase a home on a concrete slab foundation. According to todayshomeowner.com, slab foundations are easier to maintain. And another red flag to look out for regarding the foundation is whether or not the home has proper grading. When you're looking at a home, you want to see that the soil is sloping water away from the home. If a house doesn't have gutters, rain could cause the grading to actually slope water towards the house. So if a house doesn't have gutters, look out for that. A rule of thumb for good grading is to see if it has a 6-10 slope. That means 6 inches of height for every 10 feet. Now, I would personally never buy this next type of home in South Carolina, and that is a home in the V or VE flood zone. The VE flood zone is the highest risk flood zone possible in South Carolina. It has a 1% chance of flooding every year, and it typically includes waterfront properties that can experience wave action during hurricanes, tropical storms, and even heavy rains. I like to think of VE as standing for very expensive, because flood insurance in the VE flood zone costs about $8,000 to $14,000 per year, according to kin.com. And you need to pay that flood insurance if you want to finance your home with a mortgage. So instead, I would recommend buying a home in the flood zones B, C, or X. Flood zone X, for example, is the most common flood zone in Charleston, South Carolina, and it has a flood risk of about 0.2% to 1% every year. You don't need to get flood insurance in order to secure a mortgage on a home that is in the flood zone X. However, I would still recommend getting it just in case. According to smartfinancial.com, getting flood insurance for Flood Zone X will set you back about $768 per year on average. And now, I'll give you one tip that will help you decide whether or not to buy a particular house. Tip of the day. And that is to ask your real estate agent to look at the seller's disclosure, also known as the property disclosure. The disclosure will give you a history of the home to the best of the seller's knowledge, and the seller is legally required to tell the truth about the property. It'll give you information about any foundation issues, the age of the roof, the HVAC, the water heater, etc. And that's going to give you an idea of how likely it is that you will be spending money on repairs or replacements of major systems in the future. I would look at the disclosure before even heading out to view the property. That way, you don't end up falling in love with the property and then seeing the property disclosure and seeing that list of defects and repairs needed. With that said, if you found this video helpful, please like the video. You could work with me in Charleston, South Carolina, or I can refer you to one of my top producing real estate agent partners all across South Carolina. So send me a text, give me a call. All of my information is in the description below. And if you'd like to see how to buy a home in the next 90 days, then check out this video here.